Egypt under Pharaoh's tyranny. The land of Egypt was one of the most powerful kingdoms in the world at the time of Prophet Musa. Its wealth was unmatched, its army strong, and its palaces filled with treasures. Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, was a man of extreme arrogance and cruelty. He did not see himself as just a king, but claimed to be a god, ordering his people to worship him and obey him without question. He ruled with an iron fist, and his word was law. Whoever opposed him faced torture, imprisonment, or death. The people feared him so much that even a whisper against him could lead to execution. Among the people living in Egypt were the descendants of Prophet Yaqub, known as Bani Isra'il. They were not Egyptians by blood, but had come to Egypt generations earlier during the time of Prophet Yusuf. They had settled there and multiplied over the years. Their numbers grew, and their faith in the one God remained strong. But Pharaoh saw them as a threat to his rule. He feared their unity and their growing population. So he turned them into slaves, forcing them into hard labor under the burning sun. They built his monuments, his temples, and his cities, carrying heavy stones and working from dawn to nightfall with little food or rest. They were humiliated, beaten, and treated as if they were not human. One night, Pharaoh had a dream that shook him deeply. He saw a fire coming from the land of Bani Isra'il that spread across Egypt, destroying everything in its path. Egyptian priests and fortune tellers interpreted the dream for him. They told him that a child would be born among Bani Isra'il who would grow up to destroy Pharaoh and his kingdom. This terrified Pharaoh and filled him with rage. He was determined to stop this prophecy from coming true. His solution was merciless. He ordered that every newborn male child of Bani Isra'il should be killed while the females were spared. Soldiers were sent to every home to search for newborn boys. They snatched them from their mothers' arms and killed them without mercy. The cries of grieving mothers echoed through the streets of Egypt. The middle of this cruelty, a woman from Bani Isra'il gave birth to a baby boy. This was the mother of Prophet Musa. She feared for her son's life, but she also had strong faith in Allah. She prayed for help and guidance, and then a divine inspiration came to her from Allah. She was commanded to place the baby in a wooden basket and set it afloat on the waters of the Nile River. She was told not to be afraid or sad, for Allah promised that he would return the child to her and make him one of his chosen messengers. With a trembling heart, she followed the command. She placed Musa gently into the basket, wrapped him securely, and with tears in her eyes, she let the current carry him away. Her daughter, the sister of Musa, secretly followed the basket from a distance, watching where it would go. The Nile carried the basket through the waters until it reached the gardens of Pharaoh's palace. Servants saw the basket and brought it to Asia, the wife of Pharaoh. She was a kind and noble woman, very different from her husband. When she saw the baby, her heart was filled with love. She knew he was from Bani Isra'il, but she felt a deep bond with him. She took the baby to Pharaoh and said to him, "This child may be a comfort for both of us. Do not kill him. Perhaps he will benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." Pharaoh, at first, was reluctant, but Aisha's love and persistence softened his decision. He agreed to let the child live and be raised in the palace. Musa refused to drink milk from any of the palace nurses. No matter how they tried, he would not feed. The sister of Musa, who was watching all along, stepped forward, pretending not to know the child. She suggested to them that she knew a woman who could nurse the baby. They brought the baby to this woman, and it was none other than the mother of Musa. By the mercy of Allah, Musa was returned to his mother's care, and she was able to nurse him safely while he grew under the protection of Pharaoh's household. She raised him for some years before he was taken back to the palace, where he would grow up as a prince of Egypt. Even though Musa was surrounded by the luxury and power of the palace, he never forgot his true identity. He knew he was from Bani Isra'il and saw the suffering of his people every day. He grew into a man of great strength and wisdom, blessed by Allah with noble character and a strong sense of justice. This was only the beginning of the great plan Allah had for him. A plan that would one day lead him to stand before the most powerful man in the world and challenge him. With the truth, Musa grows up and confronts Pharaoh's injustice. Musa grew up in the grand halls of Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by gold, silk, and servants ready to fulfill his every request. The palace was a place of luxury with tall marble columns and decorated chambers, yet despite living among such wealth, Musa never let arrogance enter his heart. He was different from the people of Pharaoh. He was humble, thoughtful, and strong in both mind and body. He often walked among the people of Egypt, and he saw with his own eyes the suffering of Bani Isra'il, who were his own people. They toiled in the sun, carrying heavy stones, building monuments for Pharaoh and his gods. They were whipped, insulted, and treated as less than human. Injustice he witnessed troubled him deeply, and he wished to help them. But he knew Pharaoh was merciless and would punish anyone who defied him. One day Musa entered the city quietly while most people were resting in the midday heat. As he walked, he heard cries for help coming from one of the narrow streets. He saw two men fighting. One was from Bani Isra'il, and the other was an Egyptian. The Israelite called out to Musa for help. Musa stepped forward, wanting to break up the fight. He struck the Egyptian with his hand, intending only to push him away. But the man fell to the ground and died instantly. Musa was shocked and grieved at what had happened. He had not meant to kill him. He turned to Allah, asking for forgiveness, knowing that this was a serious matter. Pharaoh's guards would not spare him if they found out. The next day, Musa returned to the city and once again saw the same Israelite man arguing with another Egyptian. Musa realized this man was often in trouble and causing disputes. Musa rebuked him for his behavior. But before he could act, the Egyptian shouted aloud, accusing Musa of being the one who had killed the man the day before. Word of this accusation spread quickly, and soon a loyal supporter of Musa from Pharaoh's court rushed to him, secretly warning him that Pharaoh's council was plotting to kill him. He told Musa to leave the city immediately. Musa did not hesitate. He left Egypt alone with nothing but his faith in Allah. Musa walked for days across deserts and open land until he reached the land of Madian. He was tired, hungry, and thirsty when he reached a well. He saw many shepherds watering their flocks, but two women stood at a distance holding back their sheep. Musa approached them kindly and asked why they were waiting. They told him that they could not water their animals until the men had finished. Musa felt compassion for them and stepped forward. He single-handedly lifted the heavy stone covering the well and drew water for their flock. When he finished, he stepped aside and sat under the shade of a tree, exhausted. He raised his hands to the sky and prayed to Allah, saying that he was in need of whatever good Allah would grant him. Later, the two women returned and told him their father wanted to meet him. Musa went with them and met their father, who was Prophet Shu'aib. Shu'aib listened to Musa's story and reassured him that he was now safe from the reach of Pharaoh. He offered Musa a home and even one of his daughters in marriage on the condition that Musa would work for him for a set number of years. Musa accepted this offer with gratitude, and he spent the next years living in peace, working as a shepherd and learning wisdom from Shu'aib. After Musa had completed his term in Madian, he set out with his family on a journey back towards Egypt. On a cold, dark night while traveling in the wilderness, he saw a glowing light on Mount Tur, hoping to bring back fire for warmth. He approached the mountain, but when he came close, he heard a voice calling him by name. "O Musa," it was the voice of Allah himself. Allah told him that he had chosen him as a messenger to deliver his message to the people and to call them to worship only Allah. Allah gave him 2 miracles as signs to prove his prophethood. His staff would turn into a living serpent when thrown to the ground, and his hand would shine bright white without any harm. Allah commanded Musa to return to Egypt and go to Pharaoh with the message of truth. Musa feared that Pharaoh would not listen and might kill him because of the incident from years before. He asked Allah to send his brother Harun with him to help him in speech. Allah accepted his request and reassured him that he would be with them, both protecting and guiding them. With a heart full of faith, Musa prepared to face the most powerful and arrogant man of his time, knowing that the mission ahead would test his courage and his patience, but also knowing that Allah's promise never fails. The confrontation with Pharaoh, with the command of Allah in his heart and the miracles granted to him. Musa returned to Egypt after many years away. His brother Harun welcomed him warmly when they met, and together they prepared to face Pharaoh. They knew that Pharaoh was not only a tyrant but a man whose arrogance blinded him to the truth. Yet Musa had no choice but to obey the order of his Creator and deliver the message of Tawheed, the worship of Allah alone. They entered Pharaoh's court, where the walls were covered with gold and decorated with images of idols. Servants stood on either side, and soldiers lined the hall. Pharaoh sat on his throne high above the floor, his eyes sharp and proud. The sound of their footsteps echoed as they approached. When they stood before him, Musa spoke clearly, telling Pharaoh that he was a messenger sent by the Lord of all the worlds and that Pharaoh must free the people of Bani Isra'il. Pharaoh leaned back on his throne and laughed at the words. He mocked Musa, saying, "Who is this Lord you speak of?" "I am your Lord, the Most High." Musa replied firmly, "Your Lord and my Lord is Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, who gives life and causes death." Pharaoh's pride would not allow him to admit the truth. He accused Musa of making up lies and of being ungrateful for being raised in his palace. He reminded Musa of the Egyptian he had killed years ago, trying to make him feel guilty. Musa admitted that he had made a mistake then, but explained that it was unintentional and that Allah had forgiven him. He said that his mission was not about personal matters but about bringing the truth to Pharaoh and his people. Pharaoh demanded proof of this claim. Musa threw down his staff, and before the eyes of everyone it transformed into a huge, living serpent that moved swiftly across the marble floor. Then Musa placed his hand inside his cloak, and when he brought it out, it shone with a bright light that dazzled the eyes of those in the court. Even after seeing these signs, Pharaoh refused to believe. He accused Musa of being a magician who wanted to use tricks to take control of Egypt. Pharaoh challenged him to face the best magicians in the land. The challenge was set for a grand public gathering where people from all over Egypt would witness the event. Pharaoh believed his magicians could defeat Musa and expose him as a fraud. On the appointed day, the people filled the open ground to see the contest. The magicians stood in rows, holding their ropes and staffs. They cast them onto the ground, and by their magic the ropes and staffs appeared to move like snakes. The crowd gasped at the sight. Then Allah inspired Musa to throw down his staff. It became a real serpent, far larger and more powerful than anything the magicians had created. It moved swiftly across the ground, swallowing all their false snakes. The magicians knew at once that this was no trick of human skill. They recognized it as the truth from Allah. In front of everyone, they fell to the ground in prostration, declaring, "We believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun." Pharaoh was enraged. He accused the magicians of conspiring with Musa and threatened them with severe punishment. He ordered that their hands and feet be cut from opposite sides and that they be crucified. But the magicians stood firm, saying, "We will never prefer you over the clear proofs that have come to us. Decide whatever you will, for you can only rule in this life. We believe in Allah and hope He will forgive our sins." Pharaoh's anger towards Musa grew. He increased his oppression of Bani Isra'il, ordering even harsher punishments to break their spirits. He sought to turn the people against Musa by spreading lies and accusing him of wanting to destroy the traditions of Egypt. But the miracles continued to appear by the will of Allah, and each time Pharaoh refused to submit, his heart grew harder with each sign. This defiance led to the beginning of Allah's punishment upon the people of Egypt. It came in stages, each one worse than the last, yet Pharaoh continued to break his promises. Each time he would beg Musa to pray to his Lord to remove the suffering, and each time he would go back on his word when relief came. But the final punishment was yet to come, a punishment that would seal the fate of Pharaoh and his army. The final punishment of Pharaoh's heart was filled with pride and hatred, no matter how many signs he saw. He continued to oppress Bani Israel and reject the call of Musa as. Then Allah sent punishments, one after the other, as warnings to the people of Egypt. The first was a great flood that swept through their fields and destroyed their crops. The waters rose high, covering their land and drowning much of their harvest. When the flood came, Pharaoh begged Musa to pray to Allah to stop it, promising that if it was removed, he would let Bani Israel go. But when the water receded, Pharaoh broke his promise. Then Allah sent a swarm of locusts that darkened the skies and ate every plant, every leaf, and every stalk left. In the land, the Egyptians had never seen such destruction. Their food supplies were ruined and their storage emptied. Yet Pharaoh still refused to obey Musa and again broke his word. After this came lice so small that they filled the houses and clung to the bodies of the people. They infested the Egyptians in such numbers that there was no rest or comfort. Day and night the people scratched their skin in misery, but Pharaoh still hardened his heart, refusing to believe. Next, Allah sent frogs. In great numbers, they filled the streets, the houses, and even the beds of the Egyptians. They were in their food and drink, making life unbearable. Once again, Pharaoh called Musa, begging him to remove the frogs and promising to set Bani Israel free. But when Allah lifted the punishment, Pharaoh went back to his arrogance. Then came the plague of blood. The rivers, the wells, and every container of water in Egypt turned into blood. The Egyptians could not drink or cook with it, and even the stored water in their homes became red and undrinkable. Yet Pharaoh and his leaders still rejected the truth. Musa knew that Pharaoh's heart was sealed, and that Allah's final command would soon come. One night Allah revealed to Musa that he should take the people of Bani Israel and leave Egypt in secret. Musa gathered them quietly under the cover of darkness. They packed what little they could carry and began their journey towards the sea. They walked quickly through the night, trusting in Allah to guide and protect them. When Pharaoh learned of their escape, his rage was uncontrollable. He gathered his army, the fastest chariots and the strongest soldiers, and set out to capture them. The sound of thousands of hooves and the clash of weapons echoed through the desert. The morning sun rose as Bani Israel reached the shores of the Red Sea. Before them was a vast body of water, and behind them was Pharaoh's approaching army. The people panicked, thinking they were trapped. Musa reassured them, saying, "My Lord is with me. He will guide me." Allah then revealed to Musa to strike the sea with his staff. Musa obeyed, and the waters of the Red Sea split into two towering walls of water with a dry path through the middle. The wind blew strong, and the ground became firm. Bani Israel hurried across the path, amazed by the miracle and by the mercy of Allah. Pharaoh and his army arrived, and without fear they rushed into the path between the walls of water, determined to capture Musa and his people. But when Musa and the last of Bani Israel had reached the other side, Allah commanded the waters to return. The sea crashed down with a roar, swallowing Pharaoh and his soldiers. The waves covered them completely. And Pharaoh realized the truth in his final moments. As he drowned, he cried out, "I believe that there is no God except the one in whom the children of Israel believe, and I am of the Muslims." But it was too late for his repentance. Allah does not accept belief at the moment of death. Allah caused Pharaoh's body to be preserved as a sign for the generations to come, so that people would know the fate of those who act with arrogance against the truth. Bani Israel stood on the shore watching the waters settle. Their hearts were filled with relief and gratitude, for Allah had saved them from the most cruel of rulers. Story of Pharaoh and Prophet Musa became a lesson for all time. It showed that no matter how powerful a ruler may seem, Allah is greater, and his plan is perfect. It reminded the believers to trust in Allah even in the face of fear, and to remain patient, for his help will come to those who remain steadfast. Musa continued to guide his people, teaching them the laws of Allah and leading them to the land that Allah had promised them. His life was a mission of truth and justice, and his confrontation with Pharaoh remains one of the most powerful examples of courage and faith in history. The end.